It's important that we hang our food using the PCT method because the bears have figured out how to defeat the traditional food hanging methods. My first tip for hanging your food bag is that you make sure you do this first thing when you get to camp. If you're anything like me, you'll realize that if you set up your tent first, you go looking for a good tree to hang your food from, and you'll realize that the only good tree in the campsite was the one that's right above your tent. Save yourself some effort. Just make sure that you hang your line over the branch first thing before you get into anything else. Now, it's important to note that our food bag needs to be 12 feet off the ground, but our branch should be much taller than that. So let's aim for a branch that's 20 to 25 feet off the ground. We also want to make sure that the bears can't reach our food from the trunk of the tree if they're climbing along that. So we want to make sure that our food is at least 6 feet out from the trunk of the tree too. So we're aiming for a branch that's 20 to 25 feet off the ground and at least sturdy enough to hold our food a solid 6 feet out from the trunk of the tree. You're going to need about 50 feet of paracord, a carabiner, and a rucksack to make that work. So take aim for the branch, make sure you're not tangled up in anything, and just give it a good throw. I recommend you don't hold on to the line as you're tossing it over because it's my experience that if there's tension on there, the weighted end has a tendency to whip around. It might wrap itself around along that branch and it won't come back down. I like to leave that on the ground, then I set up my tent. That kind of designates this as the food area. Hopefully other hikers will understand that this is where someone's storing their food and they'll set up away from there too. Once you set up your tent, cook your dinner, eat your dinner, do your dishes, brush your teeth, and finish washing up, we want to gather up all our food and all our trash because a Snickers wrapper smells like chocolate, same as a Snickers bar. We're going to gather our soap, toothpaste, sunscreen, lip balm, wet wipes, any sort of smellables you have on you. Food related or otherwise, factory sealed or otherwise, because the bears have a great sense of smell and they've learned to associate a lot of those smells with our camp. Anything with a smell to it. I think just about the only thing you don't need to hang up is maybe your dirty socks, but anything with a smell to it, please make sure that you're putting it in your food bag. We don't want the bears going to your tent looking for that stuff. Once you have all that gathered up together, go ahead and hang it from the end of your paracord. I'm just going to show you real quick what the traditional method of hanging your food looks like so we can point out why it's not necessarily a good idea out here. Normally at this point you would pull it up into the tree, still making sure it's a solid 12 feet off the ground, 4 feet down from the branch and 6 feet out, and then you would tie it off around the trunk of the tree. The problem with this technique is we have 4,500 thru hikers hitting the trail every year. That's a lot of lessons. The bears watch us in the morning as we untie that knot to make the food come down, and after watching 4,500 thru hikers do that year after year after year, they've realized all they have to do is come over to that same knot, slashing it a bit. They're no good with knots, but their claws get the job done, so they just sever that, they get a free meal out of us. So what we're going to do instead, it's called the PCT method. The only extra tool you need is a stick. There's plenty of them out there on the trail. Don't worry if you don't have one yet. What we're going to do with the PCT method is we're going to take the free end of the paracord and we're going to run it through the carabiner. No knots, no loops, it just has to slide through freely. At this point, I like to pull my food bag to the very top of that 20 to 25 foot tall branch. If you've tried to haul a full food bag or maybe a couple food bags to the top of the branch, you might have noticed that the line tends to dig into your hand a bit. I see some nodding over there. Something I found helps me out. I just use a stick as a sort of handle. Wrap the cord around there a few times and it's going to make it a lot easier to pull that to the top of the branch without that digging into your hand. Once you get it to the top of that 20 to 25 foot tall branch, you're going to go ahead and remove the stick and then place yourself directly underneath the food bag. Once you get yourself directly underneath, you just need to tie the stick across the line so that it goes across it perpendicular like that. Use whatever knot you like if you have a good one. I know the clove hitch is really popular. Personally, I'm partial to the marlin spike. It's easier for me to do while I'm supporting the weight of the food bag, and it's also easier for me to release when it comes time to bring my food down in the morning. Just make a simple loop, pass that bit of cord through the loop, and pop the stick right in the middle. Take a step back when you release tension from the line, and the stick will go directly towards the carabiner rather than getting tangled up in the line. At this point, the free end of the paracord can just hang loose, and it's fine. If a bear swats at this or chews through this or claws at it all day and all night long, it's not going to bring the food down. The food is going to be secure up there. If you're working with a 20 to 25 foot tall branch, you make sure to bring that food bag all the way to the top, and then you tie that stick off overhead. That's going to leave the food suspended a solid 10-12 feet off the ground at least, where the bear's not going to be able to get to it. Any questions about this? My last tip for you regarding hanging your food is that you practice this the whole time you're in Georgia. Every single one of our shelter sites and designated campsites in Georgia has bear-proof storage options for your food in place. When you make it to North Carolina, when you cross over that border, you're basically going to have no food storage provisions at any of the sites. So it's important that you're ready for this when you get there. But I encourage you all to make sure that you know how to do this proper food hang before you make it across the border into North Carolina, so you're ready for it. Make sure you're storing your food safely every night, because the bears will go looking for it otherwise. Everyone feeling good about that? Yeah. Right on.